how's it going, everyone? So I haven't done a Q&A video in a while. It seems like I do one of these maybe like once a year. So I figured today I'll do another Q&A video. If you guys are following me on Instagram, you saw that I made a post asking you to ask your questions to be featured in this video. And I got a lot more responses than I have in the past. So some of them are kind of related, so I'll clump them together and then, you know, I'll try and get through all of them, but there were like 40 questions. And for the sake of the length of this video, I'm gonna also try and keep these responses short. But with that being said, let's get into this video. So, first question comes from Holden here, and he asks, what are the added benefits of a stage 1 tune on a B207R? I guess I can generalize that question a bit more and just say, what are the benefits of a stage 1 tune? In that, well, of course, obviously you're going to get increased performance from that. And the thing that I really like about stage 1 tunes, we have one on our 9.5 Aero, is that you can get a stage 1 tune and generally speaking, you don't have to modify your car at all. So I think that's another big benefit for someone who, they still want their car to be stock mechanically, like they don't want a new exhaust or anything like that, but they can still get more power out of their car. So I think that's really the biggest benefit of a stage 1 tune. Turbo X pools when? That's something I'm not going to do, because anytime I've ever attempted to put any sort of video of me accelerating, whether it's full throttle or not, you get countless trolls saying, oh, my stage 1 2.0 can beat that. No, it can't. Your stage 1 2.0 makes 230 horsepower and this makes far more than that. So I'm not ever going to do that. I actually, you know, have done some pools against other Saabs, which are a lot of fun. I ended up not really uploading those because I didn't film them. But those were fun. I guess I could put one video up right here of one I did this past weekend against a stage 3 V6 Aero. Next question, how much power do you think the TX is making after the turbo upgrade? I don't know exactly. Maptune's tune is rated for 340, but this car also has way more, I shouldn't say way more, but it has more modifications than is required for that tune. So I would venture to guess it's making more than 340. I don't know what exactly, and I'm not really, you know, trying to dyno it again and see, if I'm being completely honest. A related question, how's your tune going with the upgraded turbo, and is it worth doing? I would say yes, it's worth doing. I have boost cuts around like 5,000 or 5,500. My buddy who tuned the car said that could be because of coil packs. I've also heard some other people say that might have to do with the fuel system. Maybe the injectors are at their limits, or the fuel pump, and at that high of an RPM it's just cutting. So I don't know what that issue could be related to. I don't have any codes for it or anything. So that's something that when I finally have the time, I'm going to try and figure out. But for now, you know, it doesn't really affect everyday driving. But besides that, I mean, it's great. I love it. I would say it's totally worth doing. Do you want Saab to come back, or do you feel they won't be the same as before? I mean, of course I'd love Saab to come back, but the reality of it is they're not. And if they did come back, they most likely wouldn't be the same as before. I mean, the closest thing we have is NEVs, and from what I've heard, NEVs and the 9.3 are kind of a thing of the past that's not really going to happen anymore. So in some perfect ideal world, of course, they would come back under Saab, but realistically, I don't ever see that happening. What got you into Saabs? This is a question I got like 4 or 5 times, so I'll just answer it right here. My dad, mainly. We've had Saabs since before I was born, so I grew up always driving in them. I learned to drive stick on our 900. I drove our 9.5 wagon to high school for a year before I bought my 9.3, and then I also drove the 900 to high school. So really just growing up around them, and when it was time for my first car, that was really just the logical thing to do. Do you have any idea how to modify the rear end of a 9.3 linear CV? I'm not sure what you mean by modify the rear end. If you're talking about aesthetically, you could get like an Aero spoiler on it. You could get a diffuser, maybe the Maptune diffuser. I assume that will also fit convertibles. Get a dual exit exhaust, stuff like that. You could put ice block taillights on it or switch out the taillights. Gonna buy a 9.3 Aero Sportcombi soon. That was the initial goal. I know I'd mentioned that a long time in the past. My dad was looking for a manual Aero Sportcombi. We ended up buying that Pathfinder, which I'm sure a lot of you saw, so we don't really have the need for one right now. Hopefully down the road, yes. But as of right now, no. Our garage is full again, so we'll see though. What tires are on the TX? They're called Otsu tires, which I believe is like a off-brand, not an off-brand, but it's like, it's similar to, I think it's Goodyear or something like that. I don't remember the exact brand that's similar to. I love them though. When I got my wheels from Variant, they recommended these exact tires. Actually, they said a lot of people will put these on their cars because they're not going to last 60,000 miles, and because I do rub a little bit now, as I've learned, I'm kind of glad. They were relatively well priced. They weren't like $50 a tire or anything like that, but they weren't also like $200 a tire. If they did pop though, I'd probably go with Michelin Pilot Sports because we have those on our 9.5s, and I really like those. So those will probably be the tires I'll go with on my 2.0 because that car needs new tires soon as well. What's the longest trip you've had in your Turbo X/ARC? Longest trip in the Turbo X was SOC last year, which was almost 1,000 miles one way. That was a ton of fun. If you guys never saw those road trip videos, those were some of the most enjoyable videos I have ever made. So I'll link the one going up there, at least in the top corner up here to watch. Highly recommend it. It was a ton of fun. In the ARC, I haven't really taken it on any long road trips. The longest I've really taken, I guess, is like up to Prescott, which is about 120, 130 miles from where I live one way. Will you buy a 9.5 NG in the future? I almost bought one like a year or so ago. I almost sold my 2.0 to a buddy and bought an NG 9.5 as a daily. That ended up not happening, but maybe one day as a daily, we'll see. Would you say the B284 or the B207 is more reliable as a daily? I haven't had many reliability issues with either. People tend to think that the V6 isn't reliable, and I don't know why, but the V6 is very reliable, and generally speaking, I've had very little issues with both of my cars. So I would say, you know, in terms of a daily driver though, I know you're asking about reliability, I'd still say the B207 is superior just because you get better gas mileage. It's also, you know, a bit easier to work on. So in terms of strictly reliability though, honestly I'd say they're about even. Would you ever buy a project Viggen? If so, what would the goal of it be? Yes, a Viggen would actually probably be the next Saab I would buy ideally, but having two Saabs and not having my own place yet, which, you know, hopefully I'll have that in the next year or so when I graduate college. I can't really buy another Saab right now, but a Viggen is the first Saab on the list when I can get another one, and I'd really like to pretty much build the motor, do a big turbo, just do some stupid, ridiculous build to it, at the same time, you know, keeping it clean. Are you going to have Saab the rest of your life? I mean, ideally, yes, but realistically, we'll see. The Turbo X is not a car I ever plan on selling. That car I think I'm going to have, I mean, for as long as I feasibly can. The 2.0, that might go when the time comes to get a new daily. We'll see if I can afford to keep it or not. Focus asks, favorite YouTuber excluding Focus 200. A good buddy of mine, you guys should check him out if you haven't already. Just got some new wheels for his Mustang. I'd say the Stradman. I just watched his reveal video of his hypercar. He's just like such a genuine and down-to-earth guy, and like I know how hard he's worked to have what he has, and you know, he's just a great guy. I'd love to meet him someday. So I'd say the Stradman for sure. Most bang for your buck mod you've done to the Turbo X? Definitely the exhaust. I'd say a close second would be the intercooler. The only reason I'm saying exhaust over intercooler is because with the exhaust you also get the amazing sound outside of just, you know, the performance gain. So because of the performance gains you get from it and the sound, I'd say definitely exhaust. This car has a Krona downpipe and a Krona midpipe on it, and then it also has a rear muffler delete. If you want to know what this car sounds like, I could rev it for you right now, I guess. But I did a full exhaust compilation I'll link up here. What DO88 mods have you done on your TX? I've done the intercooler, I've done their charge pipes, I've done their full intake kit, and I've also done their coolant hoses. So pretty much every mod, DO88 mod that they have, I've done to this car minus the radiator, and they've all been great. The coolant hoses, their clamps that they have, those gave me a little issues on the ones up by the expansion tank where they started to eat through the hose a little bit. But besides that, I mean, the intercooler, especially the intake, they're all extremely high quality, and they make the engine bay look pretty good too. Favorite mod to both cars? Turbo X exhaust, like I said. My 2.0, I haven't done too many mods to that thing, but I mean, maybe the Aero steering wheel. That car really only has an exhaust and an intake on it. So probably, I don't know, I guess the steering wheel or the anniversary seats for sure. How do you think Saabs compare to new cars in the same class of today in terms of reliability? You can't really compare new cars on reliability, I suppose, but if you want to look at cars that are maybe 5 years old, I mean, it seems like they're about the same, and you'd think that that would improve over time. So I guess we'll see, looking at 2020 cars 5 years from now, how they're handling reliability, or even 10 years from now, more like Saabs that are all now pretty much 10 years old or older. So that's kind of a hard question to answer. Would you sell on cars and bids? Do you think a car would get more money on cars and bids than private party sale? I think it depends on the car. I think cars and bids really caters to rare enthusiast cars. So if you just have a standard run-of-the-mill 4-cylinder 9.5 or 9.3, not to knock those or anything, but they're probably not going to fetch a ton of money on a site like cars and bids. But if you have like a manual turbox wagon or manual NG 9.5 like we saw had that crazy bidding war, then I think a more rare Saab, and especially like lower miles and really pristine ones, definitely think it has potential to get more on cars and bids, because you're going to get way more exposure than just your average private party sale. Do you have plans to do a new Saab build, maybe a 9.2X? I'm not really interested in a 9.2X if I'm being quite honest, but as I mentioned earlier, a viggen would be the next Saab. If you could own a classic Saab, which would you pick? 900 SPG, easy. Going to the owners meet this year, there aren't really any owners meets this year. SOC got canceled and it got pushed to 2021 in New York, so I will be at that 100%. Now, whether the cars get there or not, probably not. I'll probably just fly out since it's like a 3,000 mile drive. But yeah, that'll be the next big Saab meet I'll be at, most likely, except for the Arizona meet that we'll probably have here in a couple months. 9.5 Aero or 9,000 Aero, which would you rather have and why? That's a tough question. I love our 9.5 Aero. I've never driven a 9,000 Aero, but I've heard so many fantastic things about it, so I don't think I can fairly answer that question until I've driven a 9,000 Aero. Future plans / goals for the TX. Right now, maybe get the hood, the paint on the hood fixed. It's starting to fade. It's not through the clear coat or anything, but I think the heat from the engine is starting to do that. So I think ceramic coating on the car for sure. I've talked to my buddy about it who works at a detail shop. So I might do ceramic coating on the car. Also might get the coilovers rebuilt. Besides that, I'm not sure for now. Will you ever buy a 9.3X? Probably not, just because I don't really like, I mean, I shouldn't say I don't like the 9.3X, I do, but if I were buying a wagon, especially one that was all-wheel drive, I would get a V6, not the 4-cylinder, but I do like the 9.3X. I just don't think it's something that I really need or want. I think my favorite Saab color, it's tough. I really like some of the greens that they have, but I think my favorite is still Glacier Blue, because it's a really rare color, one, and two, I think it's just incredibly beautiful, especially on the 9.5s. I did actually see a Glacier Blue 9.3 the other day, and that was really surprising, but I think Glacier Blue definitely is my favorite. Do you like the OG 9.3? Yes, I do like the OG 9.3. If you guys remember, if you've been subscribed for more than a year or two, you'll remember that we used to have two OG 9.3 convertibles, one a 5-speed manual and one a 4-speed automatic. I liked them both. The 5-speed manual was surprisingly quick for what it was. My dad and I were talking about that the other day, but I don't know. Would I ever own one? That was another question you asked there. Unless it's a viggen, probably not. So I guess we'll see in the future. But there you go, guys. With that being said, that wraps up this Q&A. If you want to be involved in the next Q&A, make sure to follow me on Instagram, and I will answer all your questions once again. I even do them probably once every couple months on Instagram, and just answer them on Instagram as opposed to here in a video. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see y'all next time. The 9.3, the ARC, the 2.0 should be done with paint hopefully in the next week or so. The Project Saab should be done a little bit sooner than that, so make sure you're subscribed and you can get notifications for when those videos go up, because those cars are both going to look fantastic. So see you next time.